Hey everyone, Ben with Virtuous here, and today we're going to talk about tracking the lifetime value of our donors. Now, this is a little bit different than tracking the lifetime giving of our donors, okay? That's generally looking at the cumulative giving of someone over the course of their lifetime, right? We talk about that in terms of life-to-date giving or lifetime giving, but when we're talking about lifetime value, this is more of an estimation. Okay, this is looking at the average amount of giving, so the average total of giving across the duration of someone's relationship with us. So again, it's a bit of an estimation because it's looking at a combination of historical giving while also projecting into the future what can we expect from our average donor, like I said, over the course of their relationship with us as an organization. So this is generally going to be used for strategic planning. We can look at this more broadly across our entire donor base, or we can use some more filtering to say, hey, let's look at the average lifetime value maybe of donors in certain areas or within certain giving bands, just to make sure we're kind of moving the needle of our fundraising in the right direction that we want it to go. Hey, maybe what areas need to see a little bit more tender loving care from us to make that lift, which areas are performing really, really strongly, and we can look for things that we want to replicate from those areas. Now, for all of that, it is a fairly simple calculation to look at, only going to be 3 factors to it. It'll be 1, the average gift size, times 2, the average number of gifts per year, times 3, the average number of years giving. And what we're going to do is look at how we can pull this out of Virtuous with a query, download that into maybe something like Excel, and then run those calculations, those formulas in something like Excel. But I'm actually going to illustrate this in Virtuous BI, and we'll see how we can do the exact same thing, run those formulas to build a dynamic dashboard that we can reference within the database whenever we need. Before we actually look at pulling those factors out, those calculations out, I want to briefly talk about kind of a nuance in how you might calculate this first factor in average gift size, because there's kind of 2 ways that we could go about it. Each is going to be a little bit different, but just in terms of how we actually weight the calculation. So the first thing that we could do to take average gift size is look at all the gifts in our database and take the average of all of those. The other thing that we could do is look at every donor, look at that specific donor's average gift size, and then take the average of those averages. And you'll see I have those 2 exact calculations here. We get a slightly different number in both cases. Now what's happening is if we're looking at taking every individual donor's average gift amount, and like I said, take the average of those averages, what's happening is that each donor is only contributing 1 data point. And what that means is the high-frequency donors, their effect on the result is actually being smoothed out a little bit. What we're getting is a result that's closer to the typical donor's average. Here we see that's about $611. Now, flip side of that, if we're looking at the average of every single gift amount in our system, that's going to be taking into account those high-frequency donors, right? Someone might have given 20, 50 gifts, and we're seeing how that is affecting the result more than someone who might have only given 1 or 2. This is going to be a result that's closer to the average donation size. So again, just slightly different ways to determine that average gift size, looking at typical donation size versus typical average donor's donation size. If you want to pull that average gift amount from the average of all gifts, all that is going to be is using an additional data point, or rather data set, by taking in that set of gift records to take their average of every amount. When we're looking at this from the query building angle, right, we're able to use those first 2 factors at least as simple statistic fields that already exist on the contact record. So let's say we're pulling the average of all donors' average gift amounts. I can just take that average gift amounts, and for the sake of my query building, I'm just going to say is greater than 0. All that means in this case is that it's someone who has an average. They have given at least 1 gift. It would be no more different than number of gifts ever is greater than 0. But just to illustrate the ingredients that we're going to use, I'm also going to take my gifts per year statistic, and this is average number of gifts per year. Likewise, we'll say greater than 0, but functionally that's not actually changing our criteria. All we've found now is folks who have some giving history. If I look at my results now, there we go, a little more than 6,000 donors here. Where we really need to capture our ingredients is by downloading these results. We'll capture everyone in the query and choose which fields we want in that downloaded query. Now, of course, in real life, we might want to capture things like the contact name, the gift date, additional details, but I'm just going to focus on those fields that would be used for our lifetime value calculation. Of course, we said average gift amount. We said gifts per year. But now we're on to that final third factor, right? Number of years, or rather average number of years giving for our typical donor. Now, this is a little bit more interesting, right? Because we don't have this as a default statistic on the record. We have to get a little bit creative with how we're determining that. And that's going to be by taking someone's first gift date and their last gift date and determining the space between, the amount of time between those. So in this case, I have my 4 ingredients selected in my download. I would go download that CSV, and if I were performing this in Excel, I could then do my formulas in that spreadsheet and see my results. But like I said earlier, we're going to actually use this in Virtuous BI, where we can just reference these data sets from the database directly and put them right into a dashboard. So let's start. In this example, in this report, we're going to use the version where we are taking not the average of all donors' average gift size, but we're looking at every single gift amount and taking the average of that. So we're going to be looking at a result that is closer to the typical donation size across the board. To determine that, I'm going to pull in a new table. We are going to look at, let's do all elements here. We're going to look at gift. There we go, our gift table. I'm going to preview this because in this gift table data set, I actually have a ton of information, and we don't need all of that right now. I'm going to unselect all of it and only include the gift amount because that's all that I'm taking an average for. Once we load that in, I'll have my list of every single gift. We're going to do our summary. I'm going to add a summary for that gift amount. It's going to default to sum, but we are going to change that aggregate to the average. And there we go. We're seeing that $695 amount. Now, I'm going to shorten that a little bit. The next thing we want to determine is the average of gifts per year and the average number of years given. So now I'm going to add another table. This time, we want our contact data set. We'll take this. Again, I'm going to preview this. I don't need every single detail I have about my contacts. We're going to unselect everything, and then I'm just going to search for my gift count per calendar year. So average gift count per calendar year. We're going to take that first gift date field, and we're going to take that most recent gift date field. There we go. So now in this table, we can make this one a little bit larger to work with. We've got our 3 calculations, or rather our 3 metrics. Now, I'm going to do something here, adding an extra column. This is going to be the column where we calculate the distance or the time between our first gift date and our most recent one. So if we do this, let's enter our formula. We're going to start with the date diff formula. This calculates that distance. You'll see the syntax is unit, followed by the start date, followed by the end date. So for our unit, we're actually going to choose month, not year. You'll see why once we get our results. I'll select my first gift date. We'll do a comma. There we are. And then we'll do, there we go. Yes, most recent gift date as well. And we'll close that with our parentheses. We'll press enter. And then you'll see in our results, we get each of those counts of months between the first and most recent gift. But we said that we wanted years. We're going to take that and actually put an additional set of parentheses around it and then divide it by 12. There we go. What this is going to do is give us a slightly more exact result. We're going to use those decimal points. This is maybe too many decimal points, so we'll shrink those down, and we'll go to maybe 3 significant figures there. So I'll relabel that column as years giving. And now I can go back to my summary. We're going to add those up again. Let's take a summary of gift count per calendar year. Change that from sum to average. And we'll do it again with years giving. Again, change that from sum to average. And now with my different data sets, I have all of the ingredients that I needed, right? If we put these next to each other, average of gift amount, average gifts per year, average number of years giving. From there, it is simply a matter of joining these tables together. I've already done that in this example of our dashboard here. You see we have a different table that is multiplying these together, average gift amount, gift count per calendar year, and average number of years giving. That is giving us $5,395 with that 24 cents on the end. In this case, I have it in my table. This is where we can actually put this in a KPI visualization that's going to dynamically respond to the data in our database. And as our donors change their habits, as we push our fundraising further, we're going to see how that affects our lifetime value. So I hope this was helpful in giving you a couple of different ways that you can, one, think about your average lifetime value for your donors, ways you can calculate that, whether you're pulling that data directly out of Virtuous or building it out in BI. And this is going to be one of those really, really great metrics to keep an eye on to make sure that you're aiming for that bullseye.